I was really happy to have this panel. Now, I think this is probably my 5th conference here. I can't say that I was thrilled to be on some of the other panels I've done in the past, but I'm happy to do this one because it gives me an opportunity to really highlight what we've been doing primarily in the distribution industry and some of those intrastate gas transmission lines. So a little bit about the American Gas Association. We were founded in 1918. I'm looking forward to the 100th anniversary. I'm expecting it to be a nice celebration. We represent about over 200 natural gas companies, mostly your distribution lines. These are the companies that deliver gas to homes and buildings. We also have a number of intrastate transmission lines. So Andy spoke about what the interstate lines are doing, those large transmission lines running from state to state. My presentation will cover the intrastate and the distribution. And our members cover about 91% of the gas. We deliver about 91% of the gas in the U.S. So we actually think natural gas has great opportunities right now. It's the cleanest fossil fuel. It's domestic, it's abundant, it's efficient. It's creating a number of jobs in a number of different states, but it has to be delivered safely. So how do we do that? And Glenn, as you can tell, I'm trying to rush along because I want to make sure we have time for questions. So I thought I'd start with who has oversight, because if we're talking about going above and beyond, I thought I'd better start with the base. And you see a number of entities that are involved in pipeline safety. You have legislation, and you heard what was going on in Congress. You have DOT, and we heard from Cynthia, you've heard from Jeff, you've heard from a number of others, you'll hear from Linda and Alan, and about what's going on at the federal level to provide that base, those base regulations. You have the National Transportation Safety Board, and we heard from Chris yesterday about their role and that oversight and the investigation of incidents. For my companies, we also have the states, and you heard Randy speak about the compendium. There are a lot of additional state regulations above and beyond the federal regulations that AGA's members follow. And then we also think that there's a role for the public, that oversight, that additional oversight, which is why I come here, because I want the interaction. So what are we doing? What's AGA doing above and beyond? I'm going to cover a bunch of different areas. Our board of directors, safety committee, our safety culture statement. You can read the slide as well as I can. I'm just going to jump right on down, starting with the commitment from the top. AGA has a board of directors that are made up of a number of CEOs and presidents. About 5 years ago, we created the Board of Directors Safety Committee. Before that, we had a Board of Directors Task Force because we felt it very strongly that we needed the commitment to safety to really begin at the top. And if it's going to be our top priority every year, which it has been since I've been at AGA, pipeline safety is our top priority, we thought the focus really needed to start at the top. I'll get into some of the details on the Board of Directors Safety Committee in a minute, but they're pretty much our bigger oversight. We also have a Safety Implementation Task Group, and their role is to really coordinate among the AGA committees that are involved in pipeline safety. So the Board of Directors, the Operations Safety Managing Committee, the Policy Committee, it's a coordination group. Our Policy Committee really focuses on regulations and legislation. Anything involved pipeline safety would go under that committee. And the Operations Managing Committee. You'll hear from Sue Fleck on the next panel. She's on the Managing Committee, as are a number of VPs and senior VPs for the distribution companies around the nation. Okay, well, there we go. I was a little bit nervous for a second. So let me get back to the Board of Directors Safety Committee. We focus on 4 areas: employee safety, contractor safety, safety within the home, and then pipeline safety. Most of our effort seems to be on pipeline safety, but we also spend a lot of time and effort on employee and contractor safety. As you heard from the liquid industry, we think this is pretty important. We want to make sure that our employees go home safe every night. Some of the recent products, I mentioned that we've been doing this for 5 years. So we've created a number of products under the Board of Directors Safety Committee. I'm just going to highlight a few of them. And again, you can read this, and in the interest of time, I'm just going to start jumping right into the slides. So I'll start with the safety culture statement. It was actually finalized in February. It was started before that. We've given it a lot of thought and put a lot of time and effort into it. And basically what it says is that AGA and its members are committed to promoting a positive safety culture, that we place our highest priority on the elements I mentioned before: employee safety, contractor safety, public and pipeline safety, and that really we expect all of our members and the contractors that work for our members to follow the safety culture statement. This is just an excerpt. You can find the full thing on AGA's website. We've also finalized a commitment to enhancing safety. This is relatively new, about 2 to 3 weeks old. It highlights, again, AGA's and its members' commitment to that continued enhancement of pipeline safety. You've seen some of the trend lines. You see that the trend lines are going down. One incident is one too many. So how do we continue that trend line down? It commits to proactive collaboration to improve safety. I don't think that we can really accomplish pipeline safety if we just do this alone. So we need to work with each other to figure out how to do that. So collaboration. We support the development of reasonable regulations. We've been up on the Hill, as have my colleagues, really fighting to get reauthorization passed. Working with DOT where we can to make sure that the regulations are reasonable, providing input. And we definitely support thoughtful legislation and regulation, not the knee-jerk reactions. Specific actions, and I'll get to that on the next slide, are under this commitment to enhancing safety, and it recognizes the significant role that state regulators play in really making sure that this all moves forward and is funded. You've heard a number of speakers discuss on the state side that you have the commissioners who review the rates, and within the rate cases are ways to do faster replacement of infrastructure, rehabilitation, repair. It has to go through the commissions. It has to be approved. And they have the job of balancing out the safety and the cost to the customer. Here are some of the specific actions that are in our commitment to enhancing safety. You'll see things such as expanding operator qualifications to new construction and QA and QC procedures for new construction. Valves, whether it be automatic or remote control valves or excess flow valves on the distribution line, primarily on the new lines where they work. For those of you that have dived into the details, as an example, automatic shut-off valves work really well if you have constant pressures. If you have big fluctuations in those pressures, the things can shut down, and then you're shutting off customers and creating safety hazards, something we don't really want. But they work really well for maybe some of the remote environments where you have constant pressures. So I'm making sure that these things work correctly. I won't go through the list. Again, this is on the AGA's website, and I encourage you to take a look at it. Some of the other actions outside of what I just mentioned that we're doing to improve safety. Smart modernization. And what that basically means is that you're taking a look at a pipeline's fitness for service. And we've developed documents to provide some consistency on exactly what does that mean. What does it mean by fitness for service? Basically, you're trying to figure out the integrity of the line. And then you're taking actions, and those actions aren't specific to it. They focus on the condition of the line, not the age or the material. Those are factors that have to be considered, but it's far more than that. It's the age, and it's the material, and it's the environment, and it's the pressure, and it's other things that you know about the line to really determine what the integrity is. And then taking all of that into account with the impact on the customer. That's what we refer to as smart modernization. We also think it's imperative to keep focused on key initiatives that we believe are improving pipeline safety, whether this be transmission integrity management or distribution integrity management or damage prevention or operator qualification. There's a lot of significant regulations that have recently come out that are bringing those trend lines down, that are improving safety. We don't want to lose focus on those initiatives. And by the way, I know that you've heard that on the transmission side, we're really focused on high consequence areas. On the distribution side, it covers all pipelines. So distribution integrity management actually covers all distribution lines. And then engaging in sharing and best practices, lessons learned. And that gets me to AGA's Best Practices Program. We have programs for distribution, transmission, and supplemental gas. We work with others in all three of these areas. The Best Practice Program's been in existence for about 20 years. It identifies procedures of top-performing companies and innovative work practices that really can enhance safety and procedures. When I look at the trend lines in our Best Practice Program, what I see is everything that should be going down continues to go down, and everything that we want to go up continues to go up. We focus on three areas: benchmarking, which allows companies to compare themselves to one another and learn from the leaders in a particular area; roundtables, where we bring everyone together to figure out what are the biggest challenges on a topic. So if we're talking damage prevention, what are the biggest challenges that we have in enhancing damage prevention? And then from that, what are the leading practices that companies are utilizing to address that challenge? It's all voted on, and at the end of the day, we have a list of best practices for a number of different challenges. And then we also have questionnaires that get more into some of the other ways, procedures, to enhance safety and efficiency. This was already mentioned, the Safety Information Sharing Study. You have RCP is doing that study. This is a collaboration between the U.S. and the Canadian Pipeline Trade Associations, really looking at different models that are out there to share information. Bill Bird's in the room of RCP. He's doing a great job on this project. I know we're all looking forward to the outcome, and then figuring out what's the next step. How can we take that information and utilize it to find new ways to share safety information? I mentioned some of the publications. In my mind, we would do publications to ensure consistency, to ensure that when an operator, to enhance the knowledge of an operator, and to make sure that we have, again, consistency between the operators, because if you don't have consistency, you end up with apples and oranges. So we've created documents on fitness for service, on automatic and remote control shutoff valves. We're actually doing a more detailed document on that, on all the things that have to be considered, things that an operator should consider, whether it be on a new line or an existing line. Maximum allowable operating pressure, excess flow valves, records, there's plenty more, including something that's available on our website, but I have a hard copy. This is AGA's playbook, and it covers not only pipeline safety, it covers drilling. We're not producers. We don't represent the producers, but we think production needs to be done responsibly. So we have a section in the playbook. Again, all on the website, and have at it. Some of the challenges on the distribution side, the distribution industry has a variety of sizes and materials. You have, on the material side, you have steel and plastic and cast iron and ductile iron and copper and probably a few other things that I'm forgetting, plastic, of course. You also have a wide range of sizes, from about a ½ inch all the way to over 12 inches. Pressures as low as a ¼ pound to over 400 pounds. So we're all over the board, and we're in every environment because we're delivering gas to customers, and you happen to be everywhere. So all of that has to be taken into consideration. Other things that have to be taken into consideration is, the older lines tend to be in the older cities where you may not have as much growth, which means that as the commissioners look at increasing rates on customers, they have a bit more of a challenge. Some of the newer lines may be in the newer cities. You may be increasing your growth there, but and probably could increase rates a little bit faster, but you may not need to because the lines are relatively new. So a number of things that have to be considered from the commissioner's side and the operator's side. So I'll just end with a few things. Again, we support thoughtful legislation and regulation. We have a number of initiatives to continue to improve safety. I could literally speak probably for a week on everything that we're doing above and beyond, but hopefully I've given you a bit of a flavor, and with that, I'll turn it back to Glenn.